We talk about all things recovery. Recovery from what? Recovery from addiction, recovery from alcoholism, or recovery from mental health. I have a very special friend here today. His name is Nick. I don't want to slaughter your last name, but how do you say it?
It's Ferreira. It's Brazilian Portuguese.
Okay. But some of us think that your name is Nick Ferrari. At least it looks like that on Facebook. So, Nick, welcome to the corner.
Thank you.
I've been talking to you about having you on here for a while.
Gratitude. Blessed.
Okay, good, good. So we're gonna delve into your past in just a sec, but before we get started, please do subscribe to the channel. Also, push like and share this everywhere. Let's get the message of hope out there. And so let's hear from Mr. Nick. Nick, tell us about yourself. Where were you born?
Where was I born? This legend right here was born in a city outside of Chicago, Illinois, called Rockford, Illinois.
Rockford, Illinois.
It's right outside of Chicago. It's an hour northwest. It's one of in the top 5 for the biggest cities in the state, and also now, as we speak now, it's also one of the dangerous cities in the United States.
Most dangerous?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you growing up in the outskirts of Chicago or near Chicago, Rockford, did you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, I
Okay.
have 2 brothers. One's older. His name's Mike. He's about 2.5 years older than me. And then I have my younger brother, Julian. He's about 5.5 years younger than me. And they're both, so I'm the middle brother.
Middle brother. Okay. Growing up out there, how was school growing up? Were you a good student?
Yes. I was a good student. I was okay at school. Growing up in the Midwest, it was like you saw cornfields everywhere, and it was pretty. I loved the outdoors. The weather over there is just, especially in the winters,
Super cold.
it's like bipolar.
I was just in Chicago last weekend.
Yeah,
Even at
it's
this time of year, like springtime, it was like 30, 35 in the daytime.
it seriously has no soul. Like it does not care what if it's hail, sunny, winter, hailing the next day. It's a whole nother ball game. But school was good. I got along with a lot of friends too. Growing up there, I had a fun time going to school there as well because uh, it was Michael Jordan was very a big hit at that time, and I grew up watching the Bulls, and that was fun. And I always loved playing basketball with a lot of my friends that were African American. And
How old are you right now?
I'm 37 years old,
How long are you sober?
12 years.
Okay. Growing up, did you ever have problems with people? Were you ever picked on or anything like
Yes,
that?
yes, I was.
Okay.
I was picked on because, like, talking about school,
Uh-huh.
I was I got put in special ed at second grade
Okay.
because I do have a learning disability,
Okay.
and it's ADD, and like I have if I'm in a real big class where like there's no extra teaching how to do things properly, I'm lost.
Okay.
And
So when you got what did you get put on medication?
I was put on not until about 4th grade. I was put on Ritalin.
Ritalin. And then when they put you on Ritalin, did that help? Were you hyper? Were you a hyper kid?
I could pay attention a little bit better.
Okay. Because a
But
lot of times they give kids Ritalin because they're hyper and it calms them down.
yeah, yeah. I was more.
This was more for
focused because
to focus.
yeah, me when I'm like I don't understand things or anything else, or I'm just like not getting the help that I need, and I just start to get lost, and then I just lose the drive to like really. I'm just like I don't know what I'm doing here.
So did the Ritalin help you with your attention
Yeah,
deficit
yeah, to
disorder?
a certain extent. As a young kid,
How long were you on it?
How old was it when I first got on it? I was about 9, 8 years old, 10.
And then how long were you on it?
Till about I think 3 years maybe.
3 years.
And then just that, and also I was picked on because I had a weight issue.
Were you overweight?
Yeah, I was overweight. I
Okay.
was fat. I was that was kind of a challenge. So I always had that inferiority complex of
Mm-hmm.
feeling like I wasn't smart enough, but I was so grateful my mom put me in special ed at the time because I was struggling. Oh, here's one that was on my 4-step. I had this teacher in first grade, and I was in a regular class at that time. And thank God my mom really kept close to, I love my mother. Like, she really was a big help my entire life. She really looked out for me, and love her still to this day. Basically, she put me in special ed because she saw my homework that our teachers would give to me at the time. And my teacher was one of those old ladies that was so old school where she just yelled, screamed, and she would take her two fingers and like go like this, think, think, think. I'm struggling.
Right.
And it would make me cry, and she would put the letters in big red writing on top,
Right.
with capital letters, think, with exclamation points on the top. And that's when my mom was like, yo, this is wrong. Like, so that's when.
So you weren't just getting picked on by kids, you were getting picked on by the teacher?
Yeah, teacher. Yeah. It was very uncomfortable. And so my mom, thank God my mom put me in special ed and I got the help I needed. And thank God for those rooms of special ed, because I stayed in special ed till I basically graduated high school.
Now, you said you were overweight. Were you overweight all throughout that period?
Yeah. I just, until basically once I got into like, second, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, and then so rewind. We left Illinois in 1997. And then we moved to California because my dad got a job at the time. For his career, he was an engineer. He is from originally Brazil, and he came to the United States in the 70s and went to school. And came out here, and he strived and worked hard and had me and my other brothers, and he moved us all out to California in 1997, and we moved to Huntington Beach.
Were you excited to move out to California?
I was at the time, it was cool, and we wouldn't have to deal with the snow anymore. But as a kid, I just didn't know better. I was kind of like I was maybe gonna miss Illinois just because I grew up. But on the other hand, we moved to California, and it's just like, yeah, it's better to live here.
So how old were you when you moved to California?
10 years old.
Okay.
1997.
And then when you said you were overweight, how did you lose weight?
No, I still stayed kind of mediocre. I think food and sugar was like my first addiction.
And this was throughout your, even into your adolescent period, were you eating and
Yeah, I would eat just because of just,
eating your feelings, perhaps?
eating my feelings. Yeah.
You think
And
you had,
I played hockey as a kid.
Mhm.
Sports was my escape. I love sports still to this day,
Okay.
passionately. And I've always loved to think, because that was like, I grew up in a household where there was a lot of verbal and emotional abuse and a lot of, I didn't know how to deal with the feelings. Like
Yeah.
my dad would come home and my brothers would just go and rush to our rooms and close the door.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it was that type of environment.
Yeah.
When was the first time that you ever tried drugs and alcohol?
Huh.
Like illicit drugs?
Okay. All right. Well, I tried alcohol, at a young age, because that feeling where it feels like you just want to fit in and you just want to think. My relatives from Brazil, like even at a young kid, I was like 11 years old, and my uncle from Brazil and my cousins, they're all females, and my aunt, they stayed at our house during Christmas time of basically 98 going into 99. And they stayed over at our house in Huntington Beach. And my uncle was just cool. He was just like the total opposite from my dad. My dad was strict and just like, don't you do this, and just yell. My uncle was like, we don't care. He's just we're buds, And so he gave me some of his beer and tried to give him a champagne when I was like 11.
11, that young?
Yeah. And so it hadn't clicked yet. I was like, man, why do people drink this stuff? Like,
Did you just have one, or did you have a few?
I just had a few sips, and I tried to act cool just holding it.
Yeah, but you didn't like it.
Yeah, I was like, man, this ain't that great. Why is this, man? And so,
And I think a lot of kids, when they first ever try alcohol, especially strong stuff,
yeah,
they might be doing it because of some kind of composure. They have to look a certain way in front of people.
yeah. And for me, I I just felt so off. Like I was just like just because my own self delusion of like I'm 5'7", like, and being 5'7", overweight, and just like just feeling like I was never gonna own up. And I came from Midwest of California, and I was like, man, how is everyone looking good and looking in shape, and how am I gonna compete with these people? That's just how my brain was working. And let's go back to having first alcohol. And then I went down to Brazil the following year after that, and I had a little bit of cachaça, which is like a Brazilian sugarcane rum, and it's with caipirinhas, which are very well-known cocktail in Brazil. And I tried it; it was strong. It's just like holy crap! And I was like, oh my God, right? And my uncle, again, was let me taste it. I'm like, dude, this isn't, nah. So I just stuck with my Coca-Cola and
So you just had a little bit of that?
yeah, a little bit of it. And then,
What did it get you buzzed?
no,
You didn't even want it.
not even yet. And then my cousins, they're like, one of them was 18, one of them was even younger than that when they were younger than 18 in their teens. Like they were drinking in Brazil. They don't care. Like
Yeah.
here, it's like a death sentence. Oh, you've been drinking? Oh, you're getting penalized and everything. No, down there, they don't care. Not even. And then, so here's 8th grade was a highlight of my year because I was in Huntington Beach at Dwyer Middle School, and I really got serious about my weight, and I wanted to really stop, eating. Would never eat lunch during 8th grade and go to the cafeteria, and I just did that, and then really that's when I hit puberty at a very young age at like 6th grade,
Yeah.
and 7th grade. I just started growing facial hair, started growing, you know what I mean. And then,
Did you grow a beard like the one you have right now?
no, I hadn't been able to do
'Cause
that yet.
'cause that beard is like royalty.
Oh yeah.
It's healthy.
Oh yeah. Love it. I love it. I get it from my dad too. So he grew out his beard, when he was young in college at Mizzou. And, so that's when I was able to really start feeling good about myself, was when I was losing the weight in 8th grade, and I was going into high school the following year.
Yeah.
And man, I was feeling sexy. I was just like, oh my God, finally, and like, and started, that's
So
when
you lost the weight.
and lost the weight, and I started working out at age 13 years old. And
Just natch.
natural. I've always been natural my whole life. Thank
You
God.
never did steroids?
Never, ever, never have, still to this day.
Okay, but here's the thing. There has been some. I've seen some of your posts on Facebook, and did someone ever say something to you? Like, did people claim that you do roids?
They, after working the 4-step on that one, a lot of people did try to say, you take steroids, don't you, and everything else. And that never offended me, ever. Still doesn't offend me.
People said that to you?
Oh, yeah.
Why? What would make them think that?
Jealousy or insecure or just, but they don't know me. They don't know what I do when no one's, looking. They don't know what I do. The real work is when no one's watching and you're doing it on your own time, which is, I started working out in my garage in Huntington Beach at our home. My dad showed me little things, right?
Yeah.
Showed me workouts, and because of just my background and just my stuff that I struggle with and insecurities with appearance issues, like I took that and I ran with it. I didn't want to stop because I knew that was like that passion for fitness found me, and it was first love at sight. So
I mean, whatever works. No, I mean, personally, me, because similar story. I moved out to California in high school.
yeah, from Utah.
15 years old. There was definitely a status quo. Like you had to like look good, or I tried, and I had major body dysmorphia. I was either too thick or too thin. I will say that I started doing steroids at 17.
Yeah,
I really did. I mean, I did them because I had a lot of people around me that were doing them too.
yeah.
So I did them, and I saw a major difference in my body and my shape and the way I was looking. And so I kept doing them, right? And it was an on and off thing that I did all the way throughout my 20s. And I've actually watched a lot of people have major health effects as a result of it.
Yeah, and it's insane because I've known some people that have done them, but for me, I was just so in my head to be like, don't give in to that, because I just the amount of just the roid rage and just because that stuff messes with you.
Major roid rage.
Yeah, mentally and emotionally.
Acne on the back,
Yeah,
roid
yeah.
rage,
And you can,
insecurities.
yeah,
I mean, I've had a lot of friends that have literally enlarged hearts,
yeah,
heart attacks,
yeah,
and then what was it? Suicide.
yeah.
You know, as a result of depression because they never felt like they were enough. So,
Mm-hmm.
so you're all natch,
All natural.
already,
All
always
natural,
been
man.
natural.
All natural. And I'm
When
forever.
people would say this to you that you did steroids, what would you tell them?
I just sit there and I just laugh and I just go, "Nah, man." And I don't get mad because what's there to be mad about? Because it's like
Because you know you're not doing it.
I'm not doing it. I have nothing to hide. And but because here's why I'm able to grow muscle, where a lot of people are just coming up to me, Nick, man, how do you grow so much muscle? Well, you ever heard the 3 body types? Mesomorph, endomorph, and ectomorph.
I've heard those.
I'm an endomorph, where I have to watch what I eat, and also for my build and my stockiness, like I can put on muscle no problem. And
Are you able to eat bad?
when I do, I can gain weight, fat like quick,
Yeah.
and it's a blessing and a curse at the same
So
time.
that means if you have a Sunday or
Yeah, I have to really watch, and because it's like when I have sugar too, it's like I want more,
Right.
And it's like I just have to.
because you eat it addictively.
Oh yeah, and
So we're in your addiction. How long were you using and drinking?
so I finally, after being at Huntington Beach High School,
Yeah.
my first high school, didn't party. I hung out with my brother and his friends, and I knew his friends forever. They were cool with me, and they were cool. I did wrestling for a couple years, and then once my brother graduated high school, we were planning on moving to San Clemente from. We already planned it, and we were just waiting for our time to move. So 3 months left in my junior year, because I didn't go out and party in Huntington. I didn't have a car. I didn't really. I just also, here's the reason why I didn't really party at Huntington. I just felt like, because my brother was top dog at that school, I felt like the dog on the leash, and it was like all the girls were just like, "Oh, you're so and so's brother. Oh, that's so cute." My instant reaction was like, "Oh, great, I'm not getting laid."
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, "Great. Oh, you're too young. Oh, thanks." Right. And it's like, "Great. Well, I don't want nothing to do with you. Forget you." Right. But because my brother also got involved with a lot of like women, to the point where that women sent men out to try and hurt him physically and
Yeah.
fight. And because of just a lot of stuff, and just because my brother he can do some things where it's like it's kind of dishonest, in a way where it can piss people off. And so that led to a lot of things. And because I was his brother, they looked at me like they hated me. And I would be walking out of my house, and people would be driving by from our school flipping me off and everything, because I was the brother. It's
Yeah.
like, great, dude, really? And it's like, but I started after all that. And then finally, I transferred to San Clemente High junior year. The 2 months left of my junior year, it felt like I had my own identity for the first time, and I joined the football team. And I always wanted to do football. I did that, and really strived hard. Still worked out like a maniac. And then after finally going to a new high school, and I finally, like, as if I had wings on my back for the first time. And then I gave in to drinking because I had that unease and comfort that basically we all struggle with.
Yeah.
And it was like, God. And so I started working at Albertsons at the time as just a bag courtesy clerk. And I went to my coworker's house. He lived next door, and my brother went with him, and we went to his house. And then we played this ping pong game where if you hit the cup, the person has to take a chug of this tequila, Jose Cuervo, and 7-Up. And I sucked at it. So I was the one chugging and chugging. And then I got drunk for the first time. And it was like 17 years old. That's when I was like, where has this stuff been my whole life?
And then it was off to the races.
Off to the races after that. And man, it was like I depended on it.
So you were on the football team. You're drinking with your buddies,
Yeah.
and this became a regular thing.
Yep.
And how long did that last for? All throughout high school?
Yeah, all throughout high school.
Did you finish high school on time?
Oh, yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay, and then did you get into other drugs?
I smoked weed for the first time in senior year in high school at San Clemente it was at in the desert with one of my brother's his college friend. We went to this party out there where he was from, and we went out there for New Year's, and I smoked a bowl for the very first time. And
Did you like it?
it was like whatever. It was like finally like, hey, I tried it, but I didn't really get the high so much because it was just one hit. I didn't know what to expect. But I was like, okay, I did it, whatever. Wasn't so sure if I'll do it again. And then as that went on, the progression was going and going up here.
Yeah.
To be like, I may not do it, whatever. If I don't, okay. Then finally that unease and comfort was like, you know what, fuck it. I'll just, whatever. And I graduated high school and finished high school, no problem. And then I started, because I had a car, a Mercedes Benz at the time. And that was my first car. And finally I was driving a lot. So I was like, I can't drink and drive, but I'll smoke and drive. Right. So smoke weed and drive. And that
so that was on and popping?
Yeah. And,
smoking all the time?
Yeah. And just whenever I can get my hands on it, to the point, but I worked, I had a full-time job, and I did stuff responsibly, what I had to do. But when I was able to go and do whatever, I was like, hey, I'll just do this. And then I'll just wake up the next day and just get my, active routine going and just do that. And I wasn't every day because I still loved fitness. I still worked out, still did all the stuff I loved, but I made some room for, when I had to be able to do some fun stuff like smoke weed or drink whatever. And then, so I did that for a while, and then I went to Saddleback the next day. I only took 2 classes a semester. But because I started partying and started doing all that stuff, like, I didn't really, school was just not really on my agenda. My self-delusion of feeling like not really passing school was just like, well, I'm not really into this stuff. I'm just going to it because it's like, I kind of have to in a way, and, and everything. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do, to be honest. And, so I made some room for on the weekends. I went to go party, smoke weed, do all that, and then go back to my normal like job and everything back then, fitness, everything else. And because I was doing that, my dad was extremely super controlling, where he was just like trying to not get me to party and everything else. And my excuse was like, how are you going to keep a Brazilian kid from not partying? That's part of our DNA,
Yeah.
I was born here in the United States, but I'm half Brazilian, and I'm using that as an excuse to protect my right to drinking.
Right. So did you just go on and drink? Like,
yeah, whatever. So, but
you got sober at 27?
Huh?
How long are you sober?
I got sober at 25.
25. Did you, from the time that you graduated high school and you're smoking weed and you're drinking, did you get into other drugs?
Not yet. I tried cocaine for the first time.
How old were you then?
I was 19, and I was working at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, right? And there was a guy there that was working there, and me and him loved to. Us people, we like to find people that drink and use just as much as like we do.
So how long did you do coke for?
For like small, like maybe a brief moment, like a month or so. And it was like the December of 2006. And then
what else did you get into?
I did ecstasy for the first time at 23 years old in 2010. And then those were the ones that I only like did. But oh man, when I tried ecstasy for the first time, like people were doing ecstasy back in 2006. From the moment I heard what ecstasy did to you, like it made you feel like you went like this and rubbed your arm, like it felt like such a body high. And I was like, holy Jesus, I want to try that stuff out if I ever had the chance.
Did you do it a lot?
I did it twice. And so when I did ecstasy for the first time, because I was like, nah, I don't want to ruin and go down that route for at an early age. So I waited. So once I turned 23 years old, I was a Chippendale for Halloween.
That's what your costume was?
Yeah. I just no shirt on and slacks and belt and a bow tie right
Because you were
here.
buff.
Oh yeah, I was still in fitness and everything, and you know I want to tell you too. In the year of 2010, I weighed a heavy amount of 225, just like fat and buff, and then I lost like in like a 4 month span, I lost like 45 pounds of 50 pounds of just like really started putting cardio, and then I lost the weight, and then I was a shredded 175 right around there, and I really just got I was in addiction, so I was like but I also drank on the weekends. I was a big weekend warrior.
Right.
Like, and, but when I did ecstasy for the first time, I took one pill. My friend was like, don't drink on top of it because it'll make you dehydrated and it can really mess you up. I was like, okay. So but then I took the pill and I had a sip of Bud Light, you know, to chase it down. And so we were going to the OC Fair at this little rave thing where a lot of people 21 and over are there to go, you know, do that, and lights and just DJs. And as we're there, we get there, and my friend lost all the pills that we were supposed to take. So we had a sober driver taking us. He's like, hey, let's go back to San Clemente. We're in Costa Mesa. Let's go back to San Clemente and get the rest of the pills. We're like, whatever. And then since we had a ride that was going to take us back, we're like, okay, let's not, you know, let's just not, well, let's leave together and come back. Okay. So we go. And as we're coming back to San Clemente, I took another pill. And as we get back in, you know, the car and go out to Costa Mesa, one of the pills freaking kicked in, and my armpits were feeling kind of moist and feeling like, oh my God, I think it's hitting. And my friends, I'm like, hey, I was asking my friend Terry, I was like, Terry, you know, is this supposed to make your armpits feel moist and kind of sweaty? He's like, Nick, I lost my phone. Help me find it. Like, pick up your phone and like, you know, look at it. And as I turn on my phone, I had an iPhone, the first ones, and I look and I'm just like, holy crap, dude, it's so bright. Oh my God. And it's just like, and I'm like, is this supposed to happen? He's like, Nick, you're melting. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm just like going like this. I'm like, holy crap, dude. This is like, he'll never, still to this day, he never forgets the first time I rolled. And then as we're going to the rave, we get there. Oh my God. All the chicks.
Where was the rave?
Oh, it was in the Costa Mesa Fairgrounds.
They had a rave?
Yeah, they did.
Costa Mesa?
It was fun. It was so fun. And we're there, and all these chicks were taking pictures of me and just going like this and everything.
You're buff?
I just felt on top of the world, just like when you first drink, you know.
Just rolling, huh?
Yeah, and then it was like, oh my God. And then
So why the hell did you get sober? It seemed like you really had it going on.
Well, yeah, but you know, here's why I got sober, man.
Yeah, I want to hear that part.
Here's why I got sober. After seeing all the chaos, all the dysfunction, all the verbal, the rage from my father, like everything else, and seeing all that, and finally, in 2011, it got pretty dark in my family's household. It got, you know, you may have looked at our family and thought, that looks a nice looking family. That big house, the cars, you know, everything else.
From the outside, it looked good.
Yeah, on the outside, it looks good. You stayed, if you happened to be in our home, you know, and if we had a reality TV show, it was like, oh, Jesus.
Like shit show?
So I resented my father big time. Like, I was just like, you know, like I did not like how he was treating my mother. It was horrible, narcissistic too. And, but you know, after seeing that, and finally seeing all the stuff from back when we were growing up in, you know, Illinois too. And so one night I came home from the gym. My dad basically was like, Nick, your mother just hit me. And my mom's just like, no, I didn't. Like, my mom just like went like this, like to his stomach. Hey, I'm talking to you like that. And Cusa, and I'm like, well, dude, bro, the way how you're treating her, you know, I'm not surprised if she hit you or not. Oh, you did anything to like offend him and not obey him? Oh, it was like you just like took a, you know, it's like you really offended the king. You know what I mean? Like that kind of attitude. And then it led me to saying F you for the first time, like loudly at him.
To your
like,
pops?
He tried to say like, get out of here. I was like, fuck you, mother, you know?
Yeah.
And so it was like, I wanted to fight him. And then the cops came that night because of that. Like,
yeah.
And so my mom knew she was an alcoholic from the 80s. And I didn't know. I would see her at home. You know, the Dr. Drew, the celebrity rehab show he had.
Yeah.
My mom would be watching that show as like I'm at home with her. and we're just kicking it. I'm like going, I asked her, I was like, Mom, why are you watching that show? Like, and she's like, oh, it's good. And I'm like, but really, she had a seed planted in her head already at that time to
Yes.
realize she was an alcoholic. And so basically, seeing all that and everything else, let's get to the point here. After I saw my mom get put in the back of a cop car that night, I was just like, it just really had that moment of clarity, realizing, holy crap,
Mm.
like I come in a household full of alcoholism.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, from that moment, I was scared. I was just like really, really scared.
So what'd you do?
So what did I do? I was desperate, and I tried to stay to my mother as close as possible. Still worked, still held on to a job, and but I knew at that time too. I tried to do a bodybuilding contest, and I couldn't do it because I wanted to drink. My obsession to drink and use was so large, I couldn't defeat it on my own. I was like, I got to give up drinking and using and partying for this, and I wasn't emotionally and mentally ready for it. And so
So you quit on your own?
yeah, so my mom went to AA that following morning and has been sober ever since.
Wow.
And she has a little over 12 years sober. And she went to the San Clemente Friendship Center. And you know those little pieces of paper, the 20 questions,
Yes.
you know? And she had an
If you
extra
if you fill that out and just say yes to 2 of them,
3 of them.
3 is it?
It's
Is it
3.
yeah, it's 3.
3 or more, you're definitely an
Then you're
alcoholic.
potentially an alcoholic.
Yeah. So she had an extra one. I was like, hey, Mom, can I fill this out? She's like, yeah, sure. She's like, can you help me? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, it goes, do you drink because you want to feel confident? And I was a yes. Do you drink because you're shy? Oh, yeah, I was shy. Like, you know, to certain, like, especially women, because I was just like, I just felt like just my insecurities was just like, I don't think I have any potential. Like, but basically I did that, and I was like, yes. And then it goes, do you hang out when you drink? Do you hang out with lower companions in an inferior environment? And I was
Yes.
just like, I'm like, Mom, what does this mean? Like, she goes, do you drink with people that are a lot worse than you and also in a very low end environment?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yes.
oh my God. And that was my third yes. And it was like that piece of paper is like, this is no bullshit now, Nick. And I'm like, I'll answer these later. And I push it away. And then I'm like, no. But that was like a moment that I finally realized, like, I'm powerless over alcohol. And my life was unmanageable. And then so the following 5 or 6 months after that, I tried to control and try to really stop, and because I was weaning myself down, but also having fun at here and there, like I was like, I'm really gonna really get serious. And then finally, my last drink was March 18th of 2012, and it was the day after St. Patty's Day that night. And I was like, if I can get 1 week sober, because I could never make it a week. I was like, if I can get 1 week sober, you know, I'm going to stay sober from here on out. And I finally made it 1 week. And I finally went to my first AA meeting with 7 days of sobriety. And thank God I sat in the front row. And I was going to Al-Anon previously before I went to AA. And that kind of helped me to be able to feel comfortable and actually be like, there's people that have gone through what you've gone through.
Yeah.
And Al-Anon really helped me out. So thank God for them.
Mhm.
And so I went to AA because I needed to stop drinking. That's where you're going to AA for. So I went there and I saw the first 3 steps on the wall at 25 years old. And I was looking at the first 3 steps. I'm looking as if the steps were right there. I saw the first 3 steps and I was like, powerless over alcohol in my life. So man, I'm like, absolutely, that is me 100%. And, you know, came to believe in a power greater in ourself could restore us to sanity. I was like, I click with that one too. I absolutely understand what that means too. And then the third step was like, you hand yourself over to the care of God as you understood him. And I was like, turn it over. And I'm like, yep. And when I finally raised my hand as a newcomer, and I said, my name's Nick. I'm an alcoholic and I need help. And it was like, I'm here. I am here and now. I'm safe. And then I started hearing everyone share. I was the last person to share at that meeting that day, just because, you know, they go around the room and do that kind of standard, that kind of, that's part of their format.
Round robin.
Yeah. And so I was the last one to share. And I was sharing with my mother sitting next to me. I was sharing about how much I had suicidal thoughts and just like, I just felt like, you know, I just always felt different and what I was going through with family and stuff. And I just said I was scared to become like my father, you know? And basically I was just like, I want hope. I come to AA to turn my life around and get a better life. And without drinking or using.
And you stayed sober since.
I stayed sober since.
So what do you do now to, besides maintain your sobriety? Because you seem like a person that's here to stay.
Oh, so what do I do to maintain?
Yeah.
Every single day when I wake up? What really got me to really stay in this thing and is just being honest and open, and the willing to be honest with your innermost self, that if anywhere that I'm next to strangers or anywhere that people are like, would you like an alcoholic beverage? Could you get a drink? Could you get a shot? I've had hot girls with short skirts ask me, do you want a shot? Have a shot with me. I'm like, babe, I'm sorry.
Well, that's what brings us to where you work now.
Yeah. And
so you're a bartender.
Yes, I am.
And how long have you bartended?
I have bartended now. It will be 4 years this coming fall. And
so you were working in other jobs before. Now you're just bartending.
Yeah, I'm bartending, and I'm a certified personal trainer, but I'm not really doing so much. I would love to get that going here and there. But what really got me started to work in food and beverage as I became a bar back. When my mom finally put up her 2 fingers and finally said, "Bye, Felicia, I'm out," with my father, because she got 4 years. She finally she had worked her steps already, but finally got to the point where she was like, before we went to Maine to go see my brother get married out there in the East Coast, because that's where his wife would spend her summers. From being raised out in Detroit, Michigan, she would go to Maine for her summers, and that's where they had the wedding. And so when we got back from Maine, she was like, before we were going, she's like, when we come back, like, I'm moving out. And I was like, it got me that. And I had worked my steps already. So thank God for that. And finally, she moved out, and she didn't look back when we got back. She was gone. We got back that day. She was gone like that same day. Like, I'm out. See you later. It was like, whoa. And as a son. And then I had to live with my dad still at the time. And I was still going to AA and still admitting, and how it gets me to stay is admitting myself, I'm an alcoholic, and I cannot have any alcohol at all in any shape or form.
Do you ever get tempted when you're at work bartending?
Do I ever get tempted? Does that fleeting thought thinking comes like, hey, you know what? It's like, like anything like a sip or something. What if that ever happened? That thought, that fleeting thought, like, hey, that beer kind of looks good. Geez, must taste good. But then I have that thought. It's like, Nick, you're an alcoholic. And when you finally admit that, hey, I can't have.
So how do you resist?
Yeah, I go, I'm an alcoholic and I can't drink. No. Mm-mm.
Do you, when you work at the bars that you've only worked at one bar or a few?
I've worked at a few now.
Okay, when you work at bars, have you ever seen other people from AA that relapsed that are in there drinking?
Yes. One guy.
And do you end up having to serve them?
One time.
Do they recognize you?
Oh yeah.
Do they think that you're not sober because you're working at the bar?
They'll be like, how do you do this? Like, this is baffling. Like, how do you do this? Like, how do you work at a bar and still do this? It's like, I tell them, I try to not be so promotive or anything. I just kind of keep the conversation between me and that person. I go, dude, I just have admitted that I'm an alcoholic. My life's unmanageable, and I did my steps. And because I know for mine, and when I surrendered, I was done. No reservations of any kind. No reservations of any kind.
That is the way that recovery works best, is when you can actually put any reservations you may have in the back of your head out on the table.
Yeah.
And put them aside and
really
make a decision.
And ask yourself, if you think you're that much of a normie or something like that, where you think, I may be able to have a drink. I think I do. Well, that, to me, that's deadly. To me.
Absolutely. Do you had mentioned that sometimes will have to 12-step some people that are in bars that are smashed.
Yes.
How do you do that? You tell them like, you might want to check out Alcoholics Anonymous? Or
no, I don't do that. No, that's
What do you do?
So here's what I do. I've had people offer me, a drink or any shot, or be like, hey, I'd like to buy you a shot or anything else. And I go, unfortunately, thank you for the offer, but as due to result to where I work here, we're not allowed to have any alcohol on the job, on the clock at all. And they're like, well, other bars do it. I'm like, they're not supposed to.
Yeah.
Due to alcohol and beverage control, you're not. No. Like if someone from like, the.
So do you reveal to them though that you're sober?
So here's how it all goes. Basically, I'll sit there and they'll go, well, I insist. Could you, I like to really do that. I go, unfortunately, thank you for the offer again, but I don't drink. I gave up drinking over, this amount of time now. And I'm, still like that. And they go, what do you mean? You gave up drinking? Like completely? Like, like how? I go, I'm sober.
Yeah.
I gave it up. I'm a recovering alcoholic. And then they go, some of them went like this. They were like, are you a friend of Bill's?
So they know.
Yeah, they knew. And then they were like, oh my God, I was going to those meetings too, man. Like everything else. And oh my God, no way. And then that's where the 12-stepping comes out into play,
And then you can have little conversations.
Oh yeah,
with
little
them
conversations.
without directly saying you need to go to AA.
Yeah, no, I don't say that. I do not.
Yeah.
That's a very like a hot button. You just don't try and convince because it could really come back to you in a negative way, And it's
by them.
Yeah, or by them or by a manager or anything else. Like it's
Yeah,
like,
the managers don't want.
yeah, exactly.
There's a bar in Orange, California that if you take your AA chips there, they'll give you a drink. 'Cause they don't want you to go to AA. They don't want you to get sober. So they'll give you a drink. You can take your 30-day chip, your newcomer chip. You can take your 1-year chip and be like, I'm going to turn this in. Oh, drinks.
Yeah, but it's coming to the point, and that's where, I always wondered why God, my higher power, or my own understanding, basically had me start working in a food and beverage at a bar, when I was back in 2016, when I had to finally find a second job and be able to live on my own for the first time, because I lived with my parents for such a while. And I started working as a bar back, and then that led me the drive to be able to want to become a bartender, because my mom always said you'd be a great bartender because you're friendly. And
I see some of your stuff on Facebook.
Yeah,
You'd be like doing the old Tom Cruise
fun.
tequila.
Yeah,
like
it's great. The movie
Sunrise.
Cocktail.
That's what it was.
Great movie, by the way.
Juggling shit.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, Nick, do you love your life?
I seriously.
Do you love the man who you've become?
Yes.
Are you thinking about settling down anytime? Getting married, having a kid, or no? Are you just going to be a lone wolf?
A lone lion.
Lone lion. Are you going to stay single forever?
Oh, I don't know,
I mean,
man. I don't know, man.
I think you're a good catch.
I love my life so much, man, that basically it's like I always wondered why I stayed single for so long, and still
Are you single right now?
Oh yeah.
Seriously?
Single.
I would think women are throwing themselves at you.
Oh yeah, dude. It's like no joke because
I mean, with a beard like that,
Oh, yeah.
you'd be at the grocery store and like there's probably just like
oh, it's awesome, man. It's so awesome because of this, from my struggles, and also because I'm a very independent person. I love to be alone a lot.
Yeah.
To the point where I just get my my peace and my I'll stay at the beach for hours just getting tan because I can get tan.
Yeah.
Dark.
So it's that Brazilian blood.
Yeah, and I love fitness because I go to the gym alone. I do love to do a lot of things independently. That's just who.
You go to the movies alone?
Oh, yeah. Because of really that comes from a lot of the times where I didn't like. I'll go with my mom places, no big deal, like, and do the thing, but my younger brother too. But there was a lot of times where I didn't really like bringing my dad places at all because it was like.
Do you have a better relationship with your dad these days?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
And your mom, obviously, you have a very good relationship.
Always. My dad lives in West Palm Beach, Florida now. He moved from California.
Is your mom proud of you for being sober?
Oh yeah, my mom really is really proud of me for being sober, and It's
I think the streets of Orange County are safer at
oh
night.
yeah,
because
yeah. Oh yeah. I was the guy that drank and drove a lot too.
You got sober as a youngster.
Yeah, at 25. Yeah, I'm super grateful because when I got sober at that age, people were like, you know, I didn't know you were that had bad of a drinking problem, Nick. Like blah blah blah. I was like, they don't know the deep inside demons I was going through with like family and just myself too, and just really putting everything that was important in my life on the back burner. Like, yeah, I'll go back to that later. I just want to drink and do all that and everything else. And it was I had no direction. Like if you
And
had
now
asked
you
me
and
what,
now you have a direction.
yeah, if you asked me what my goals were, what I wanted to do, I couldn't give you a straight answer. Not zero at all.
Awesome. Finally, we had you on here. We got to hear more about you. I got to learn more about you.
Yeah.
Do me a favor. Put some good energy out into the universe. Let people know if anyone's struggling out there with alcoholism or addiction. What would you like to tell them?
Here's what I would like to say. All right. If any of you out there are struggling with alcohol addiction, any kind of, drug addiction of any kind, I do everything alcoholically, from alcohol to drugs. They're all a drug. I was an alcoholic. I did everything to the extreme. If you're out there struggling, you're not alone. There is hope out there. I was a hopeless variety that finally found hope at age 25, and I've stayed sober since. And you do have a purpose, and there is a better life for you out there. I was the guy that never thought I would be able to have any any good life out there for me. And you know what? And you can be okay with your own self. No matter what people are telling you what you should be, or you should be this, or, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's all bullshit. You can do anything you put your mind to. And I'm a living proof of that.
Awesome.
And I can be able to do anything, and you can too. So if you're struggling, reach out to me or anyone that Pej or anybody that may be in sobriety, of recovery, of any kind of fellowship, 12-step fellowship. We'd be happy to help. And it just takes that one step of reaching out for help. And my job is to helping the next alcoholic that's still struggling and be responsible for the AA hand where it needs to be. For that, I am grateful.
All right. Thanks, Nick. And this has been another episode of Pej's Recovery Corner. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. I want to thank my friend Nick for coming on today.
Thank you, Pej.
Also, the channel, please subscribe to this channel. It is on Pej Interventions, and Pej's Recovery Corner is a recovery podcast that we do every week. Also, please like us and share it with other people. And until we meet again, much love to all of you, and thank you, Nick.
Right on.